Okay, well, thank you, th- my word. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to begin with a word of prayer. If you'll bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you that I could come and or go on a mission trip and serve you, and for all the wonderful experiences I had. And thank you that all these people got to come and get to hear what all happened. In your name we pray. Amen. So this year, I had the opportunity to go on a mission trip to Paraguay, and with Ultimate Workout with Maranatha. So this is the first day, and kind of a blurry picture, but I took it anyway. So we got there eventually. The flight was good. It was raining when we got there, like pouring down rain. And the next day that's our job site. It's sunny. And that's after the first day. We got one roadblock up there, and that's the back. And the weather was good. The next couple days were pretty wet. I got a couple pictures of that too. And then that's Friday. And then Sabbath, that's the sunset Friday night. They were having Sabbath school worship. Those are the two singers, and the rest people are all volunteers that come up and sing. It was really fun. The worships were really nice. Thanks. So that's the church from the back. The old church is the blue one, and the bathroom is the other blue one. So there was maybe 15 members and half a dozen kids, and the rest was all our group and the medical team. And this is during the children's story. That's how many kids were there. So there was like 5 kids there, and there's special music. And I forgot to tell you this front. There was kids from 7 different countries. There was the United States, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, Turkey, Brazil, and Mexico. So the girl on the left, she's from Turkey. Her family's missionaries there. The kid on the right, he's from California. And that's all of us at the after church. They all wanted a picture. And where's the next one at? This is this was our really first work day. So every day we got up at 5:30. Those who wanted to go on a run got up at 5. Breakfast was at 6. And the pastor decided we wanted to run. And he's the lady in the red, he's right below it. That's his wife. He was a great pastor. So that's their sign. So we would get up in the morning, have breakfast, have worship at 7, leave at 8, and we got bussed out to our job sites. Our job site, the one that I was on, was an hour away from where we were staying. We stayed at an academy in Paraguay. And the medical team went all over the place, and the other job site was about 10 minutes away, and then there was a painting team. So, this is the first day, this typical day. It was really, really rainy. Just a second. That's the water coming off a gutter next door. It was pretty wet. We only worked a couple hours that day because the lightning was pretty bad, and they didn't want us inside a metal structure. So he wouldn't quit working. He was always working. And the mortar was pretty wet that day, so it went really slow that day. It rained. That's after 10 minutes of raining. Just like a sheet you walk into, like somebody dumped a bucket on your head. So that's just the ditch the water made. And what does this say here? Pictures. So this is the second day we went, and every 4 rows up, we have to pour a bond beam. all the blocks are hollowed out in the middle, and then we pour concrete in the middle of them. So I think that's the day we poured concrete. And that's that. We were messing around at lunch one day, and we were teasing him. He was the youngest one that was there. We kept dropping popcorn in his water and annoying that kid. He was a great kid. And then somebody went up, there was a store up a ways, and somebody brought back a couple bottles of Fanta, so we were all drinking Fanta. And there, he was also good at tossing popcorn in other people's mouths, so we were doing that. So the kid holding the phone, he was the next good one. So he decided he was going to stand there and do it. So the one kid's, I didn't get this picture good enough, but the one kid's holding his head back into the sun, and he has his mouth open and going to toss popcorn. So one kid's holding his head back, and his mouth's open. He's looking at the sun, so his eyes are closed. It was a pretty comical sight. So this guy's trying to take a picture, and he's wondering why it's taking so long. And then he opens his eyes and starts hollering at us. It was funny. And there, we were pouring concrete and the wheelbarrow dumped, so we started a sidewalk. They were pouring the concrete. That's them mixing it. So there was 2 guys that worked for Maranatha that were there, and then the rest were all people from the village or town, wherever you want to call it. And this is we got done early, and this is a police car they had there, that by the park where VBS was. And this is VBS. I think this is the 3rd day, and those were all the kids that got come. And they would get there. As soon as they heard we were doing VBS, they would all come and wait till we were all ready to go. And they'd sit there or play soccer. And the medical team was there that day, and here they're admitting people or signing them in, what their problems are, whatever it is. And there's glasses. I think here they're writing out prescriptions. And those are people waiting in front of the trailer that has all the dentist stuff in it. That kid, he was always the one on the left, right. He was always at VBS early and always left late. His name was Fabricio. And he always came by himself. He never missed a single VBS. And he wanted us to bring back, next time we came back, or next year, he wanted us to bring him soccer cards. And he lived and breathed soccer. There's a better picture of them all sitting there. And then this is during worship. He's making faces at the camera. And there's the pastor giving what was he? He was giving a testimony that night about what prompted him to be a pastor, and it was really cool. And the pastor, there was this foosball table there. It was rickety. It was all metal and wood and missing a couple pieces. And we got there and we started banging away on that thing, playing. So the 2nd or 3rd day, the pastor decides we should have a foosball tournament. So he's getting people to sign up for a foosball tournament. It's a wonder he didn't break that thing, but. So that's him and one of the construction supervisors going at it. I think the pastor won. The winner in Brazil, the last 2 played in Brazil, and the winner got a 2-pound bar of chocolate. So this is the cafeteria, and that's us making our lunches for the day. And sometimes they were good, sometimes they were not so good. This is right on the bus. This is my cousin, who hates getting her picture taken, so I took a picture of her. And this another guy sleeping. So we had the hour ride, right? So we had a pretty comfortable bus. The seats were soft, they leaned all the way back, and the medical team had this bus. So they decided they need more space because ours had all the underbelly storage or whatever it's called. So they took that bus from us, and we got this one. And so, trying to be comfortable. That guy was a good, funny kid. But he slept like that almost every time we got on that bus. There are some of the guys cutting block to go around electrical pipe. And so the back of this academy or whatever, it had a huge campus. And at the back of it, there was a jungle. So one day we decided we should go and hike through it when even the pastor decides he should take it. So a group of us go, and I think we just went in, and these palm trees, there was a lot of them. And we kind of went to the end of the trail, and then the trail ended, so we kept making our own trail. There's a vine that's hanging there. And so it's pretty thick, so we go to the end of this trail, then we start making our own trail, and eventually make this loop back. And we get back when it's dark. We miss dinner. And it was really pretty. The sun going down on the top of the trees was really pretty. That's all vines on just one side of the trail. Usually it was thicker than that. You couldn't see more than a few feet in front of you. That's what it was like most of the time. We're going around a clump of them. And there was these big, in the clearings and stuff, there was these big, I don't know what those are called, but there was a lot of those all over the place. And there it's getting dark. Another picture. There was some big ferns in there too. And it was really wet. A lot of water. And there it's getting dark. And there was this swamp. We came to this, there was a lot of little creeks. So we go across one, and we land right in the middle of a swamp. That's when we got back. But we get to this swamp, and we try to find a way around it, but it was like probably this deep. That was just water. And then the mud was probably the same amount. So we go through it, and then finally get to the other end. But some people were in sandals, Crocs. For some people, it was a nightmare. But we get out, and we miss dinner, of course. And then this is when we come out of the cafeteria and the sunset. I think this was Thursday or Wednesday night. But the dorm is the one on the right, and the cafeteria is on the left. And this is that evening. What's it called? The program or whatever, I don't know. It was on Mark chapter 5 about the manna caldera, and it was about rebirth, rebaptism, and recommitting your life to God, and it was really good. That guy's glaring at me. But at the end, this is one of the days when I did VBS, and this is one of the houses where we stopped at. And this lady, she cooked, and it was kind of a mini orphanage. There was 7 kids that lived in that room, and then there was a couple small houses in the back further. And she cooked for them, and she had a school and taught them and all kinds of stuff like that. These are some of the kids waiting for VBS that day. This was on Friday, and they're there waiting. They brought their breakfast and everything with them. They're there singing. They're doing their morning songs. They have a sticker sheet, and they're decorating stuff. And their kid decorated his face. He wore that all day long. Pretty proud of it. And there's a girl that did it. And there he's looking at someone else's. They're playing. I don't know what it's called. They make a ring around somebody, and one person tries to run in. But they like that game a lot. And the one girl in the back, the girl in the middle on the right, she was always it. She loved being it. And there he's standing there. Here's the song service towards the end of VBS. And after VBS, they'll line up and they'll get a toothbrush, bouncy ball, toothpaste, etc. That's a scaffolding on the side of the church after we went up far enough. And that's how deep the mud was, how soft it was. There we're going up. We got up past the windows. There's a field of corn we drove by. They grew a lot there. Soybean stuff. It was pretty wet. There's our bus. There, Maranatha treated us to pizza one night. Was different, but it was okay. It was pretty good. There, they're posing for a picture out of the pizza place. There's the front of it. There, on the way back, we were all full of pop and pizza, so we were all messing around in the back of the bus. Yeah, that guy was a goon. That's our building supervisor. He was a great guy. And there are the windows. We got a couple layers higher than that before we got done. Oh, just a second. So the mortar is the stuff on the right is what we used, and the blocks where I think we're putting the bond beam on. That's why there's the slits in the side of them. And that's towards the end of one of the days. And this is from the back, and where that little window is a bathroom, and where the door is a storage room. Then there's another bathroom on the other side. And there was a flower that was by the road in the academy. It was pretty. There's sunset. There's this old house that was there. Thought that was a weird looking tree, so I took a picture of it. There was a lot of these bushes all over the place. And I don't know what plant that is there, but there was a lot of those papayas. Another palm tree. There was this lady that did laundry, that worked on the campus. She was an English teacher. So like beginning of the second week, she came up and said she'd wash clothes for $5 American. So a couple people went and got clothes washed. There was this wasp nest, hornet nest, I don't know what they were, that lived right there, and one of the kids went down and burned them out. They're playing a game. I forgot what it was. They were really excited. They were walking. There was this store about a couple blocks up, and they were walking back, and she has all of her chicks out along the road. There we got above the windows all done. Now he's inspecting it. He really liked straight walls. If it wasn't straight, he'd take it down, no matter how far down it was. Another picture. The guy in there, he's also inspecting walls. I think this is Friday, when we're getting ready to get done. He was a funny guy. He'd worked for Maranatha for 8 years, and the other guy worked there for 27 years. And those two guys could lay block like no other. They were taking all the scaffolding down for Sabbath. This is Friday. And they were cleaning up mortar. We all dropped. We only got that high on the church. We didn't quite get it done. So that's the inside of their church. The people that were working there stayed in there. But that's how big it was. That's from the back. There's their back room. Those two rooms were their whole church was about as big as two of the Sabbath school rooms here. And there, it's hauling broken up bits and pieces to the pile. And that's our work crew for that day. And there's more of them. That guy, he got those headphones he's wearing around his neck. The tall kid in the very, very back had them. And I'll leave it there. You say so he had him, and the guy was always asking questions about it. His name was Javier. So Javier was always asking questions about those things. And one day we get there, and he had pulled it up on his phone, and he could speak a few words of English, but not very many. And we didn't know any Spanish, just covered a couple people. So he got somebody to translate for him and wanted to know where he could buy those headphones at. And the kid in the back, he said that it was an older model and they probably couldn't get him anymore. So Friday, before we left, he gave them to, and that guy was a really tickled guy. He loved those things. And there's VS that day. There was a lot of kids that day. Our bus driver is the guy in the yellow shirt. But there was a lot of kids. They're there singing one of their songs. I don't remember what the song was called. I don't know if it had an English name, but they were always singing that song. They loved that song. They're all posing for a picture. They loved pictures. Absolutely loved pictures. The VBS coordinator is the lady in the front. That's Friday night. So 10 people decided to get rebaptized. So he called there was an agape feast. So those are some of the candles there. There's the kids all lined up for the baptism. I didn't get any of them getting baptized, but that's how many got baptized. And it was really touching. It was really cool. And that Sabbath morning, before we head to church, or this is Sabbath school, so here's Sabbath school, and somebody was messing around with the computer and put all those up there. And there, the lady's translating the sermon, and he's the pastor that day. And that's how many kids were there. So that's how many kids were there, like 5 or 6, like the first day. And so our VBS coordinator, Misty, she had some little Spanish Bibles that were about this big. So she decided she should give the last 10 of them out for Sabbath school, or children's story. So she said she's gonna, I'm getting messed up. So she was gonna give these out. So there was 5 or 6 kids. So the church service goes a little different. They all get there. They have prayer. They have song service, then offering, then 2 special musics, and then the sermon, and then the children's story. The children's story was last, and then a song service. So the translator announces that the children's story is going to happen, and so the 2 of those kids run off and bring all their friends back. There was like 24 of them. So Misty's getting all worried because she doesn't have that many Bibles. So she doesn't know if she should give it to the ones that were there first or every other kid. So she says, why am I thinking like this? God can work miracles. So she prayed and asked God to multiply the Bibles, and she gave away 22 Bibles and had 2 extra Bibles. Yeah, so that was really neat. They're having closing prayer. They were all trying to get in line for a picture, but it's not working that great. This family, they met so to invite people to VBS, they would just go walk all over the neighborhood for an hour or 2 in the morning. And so on the way back, they met these people, and if the VBS people saw a place that needed some groceries or something, they'd go up, there was a market up the road, and they would stop and get some groceries for them. So these people heard about the groceries and wanted to know if they could get some, but we'd either spent all of our money or we had to get them away. But they prayed with them and invited them to church, and they were there at church the next day. And the church, so like I said, there was 15 members there the first week, and the next week that church was packed. Like they were sitting on the ground, it was packed. And they were always ready to come to church. They sat there all day. They put on their best clothes. They absolutely loved God. And what's next? That's him posing for more pictures. This is after we had lunch and we're getting ready to go to Brazil. So on Sabbath afternoon, we all got in 2 big, huge touring buses that were double-deckers. There was 6 first-class seats in the bottom with air conditioning. So we decided we were going to sit there. So I took a picture of it. So this is when we got to the falls. We stayed the night at a college campus in Brazil and ate. That's just when we get there. That's from the top. And it's a huge river. It's wide. It's like a mile wide. It pours into this little narrow canyon. That's Argentina on the other side. And then Paraguay's that way a little bit. It was really, really pretty. There was an 85% chance it was going to rain, and it didn't rain. That bridge, though, you can see in the back, that's the Argentinian border. And it goes back all the way further. It was really, really pretty. There was quite a few animals, and they said 2 million people visit there a day. So, here's a picture of it. So you kind of walk down these stairs and walk along the river a ways, and that's back there a little ways. That's down the river. That's like an island in the middle. And you could take a boat up from the bottom and go to the base of the falls, which is pretty neat. Another picture. Another one. It was really dense too, and the jungle was really dense. That's the Argentinian border again. There was a little pool on the side of the cliff. It was kind of pretty, so I took a picture of it. More falls. I took a lot of these pictures. There was a lot of mist too. We were advised to bring rain jackets. All the people that lived down there, they would come in wearing their ponchos and stuff with the points on top. You could tell who was from out of the country. It was really loud too. I think they said there was like 200, there was over 270 falls there. So up the river, you can see all the mist. That's where there's the big falls up there, and they called it, I don't remember if they called it the Angel's Throat or the Devil something, but you can see it better on the Argentinian border. But it's up there. More falls. Sorry. That's the big one right there. That's pouring down into a canyon. There was all those little red flowers, you can see they were all over the place. It was really pretty. Then there's that little fall falling down. I thought that was kind of cool. And there's more. There was these birds too there that were always circling out up and above. They would come swooping down and fly through the mist and pop out and sit there and watch you. There is up above, and that walkway down there, we got to walk out there. But up there in the center, that's the big falls. There's from the side. That's looking down. More. That's the river just before it goes over the falls at one of the places. It comes down one, goes down another. It's kind of like a huge ladder or a step stool. There's looking down the canyon. There's the pool up close. Looking down it again. Again. There's up closer. We've walked out there. They had a walkway out there a little ways, and we got to walk out there a little ways and get closer. That's looking, there's a rainbow in there. That was really, really pretty. They said that some 2.8 billion or trillion gallons go over those falls in a minute. There was a lot of water there. And there you can see the people in the background. But where the water was slow and stuff and wasn't rushing, people had dropped coins in there. So under the water was literally gold and silver. There's more falls. Then there's a little one. It's a better picture of the rainbow. But those colors were really, really vivid, and it was there for a long time, too. There, I was standing next to a rock wall and poked my head around and took a picture of that. And there's another rainbow. There it's full. They had these little animals there. They were pretty tame, too. There was ones that walk up and want to cuddle in your arms. They were kind of funny. There's the top of the falls where it drops down. There's the bridge. There's a bridge on the other side in Argentina. So after we went through went to the falls, there was this really fancy buffet this way a little bit. I didn't get any pictures of it, but Maranatha treated us all to lunch there. It was a really good lunch too, and it was really fun. There, we're having worship by a swimming pool. in Brazil, and 2 more people got baptized there. Thought I had a picture of them getting baptized, but I don't. And there, this is the group that I was in. We're getting off the bus in Iguazu Falls, and we're getting ready to go to Brazil, or São Paulo. We were already in Brazil. So we get on the plane there, and I was sitting in the very front, so we were all exhausted, so 90% of us just fell asleep sitting there on the plane. Then I woke up later, and the plane was sitting on the runway. I thought we had landed, and they're asking us to get off. So we get off, and we're still in the same airport. So we sat there an hour, and I slept the whole time. Then, so they had some mechanical problem, so we were delayed 4 hours, then 6 hours, and finally we were delayed there till we were delayed 9 hours, and we were the first group. There was 35 of us getting on this first flight, and the next group left, the next group left, then one kid left at 7 o'clock, and we were still sitting there. We finally left at 8:30, and our connecting flight from São Paulo to Dallas was at 10. So we land in São Paulo with like 20 minutes to spare, and we land out on the runway. They said they're going to get us a bus to go in there, and we sit on the bus for 30 minutes waiting for on the plane, waiting for a bus. So then the airline there lost our bags, and so there was this guy from Nebraska, and he was born in Brazil, so he was fluent in Portuguese, and it's kind of funny, they spoke more Portuguese in Brazil, and then you go to Paraguay, and they speak all Spanish. But, so, he pulled some strings and got us vouchers for a hotel, and blah, blah, blah. We finally go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we were all 35 of us were supposed to fly to Dallas, and so they ended up splitting, so only 14 of us went to Dallas. The others went to Orlando, Atlanta, all over the East Coast. And they were supposed to, the first group that was going to Orlando was leaving at 6, and the rest of us slept in, because why not? So we all show up there at 9, and the first group's still there. And they still hadn't found our bags, so we sit there like for the flight. So the flight for Dallas was leaving at 10 that night. So we kind of sat in the airport all that day. They finally found our bags. They wouldn't let us leave without them because they thought we'd sue them. But, so that was kind of a nightmare. So we all got back a day late. And thank you for coming. But it was really fun, and I really appreciate your guys' support. Honestly, I have no idea. Where we stayed, we kind of stayed along a highway, but we went to a town called Campo 9. Yeah, that's what the town was called. And we had to drive along this road to go up there. It was kind of back from the highway, so we'd turn on this little narrow road and go up there, and the bus would barely fit. And this one side of the road was all motorcycle dealerships. They have every single motorcycle in the world there. It was kind of funny. Yeah.
What other projects besides the church that you worked on?
There was a medical team, and then another group went and painted a different church. Yeah. And we built 2 churches, or almost built 2 churches. Any more questions?
How many young people total?
150. Yeah.
When you were in the jungle, did you see any snakes?
No. We didn't see any animals. We heard some birds, though. Yeah. I had soaked a couple pairs of shoes. Yeah. Any more?
Are you going to go again?
You want to see the pictures again?
Go on another trip, he's saying.
Oh, yeah, I would like to go. It was really fun. Yeah.
How long was the flight to get down there from here?
think it was 19 hours. Yeah, so I left Portland and went to Dallas. I think that was 4 hours. And then from Dallas to Sao Paulo was all night. And then it was an hour from Sao Paulo to Iguazu. And then we went from Iguazu, we got in a bus, and we drove an hour to Paraguay. We went across the border into Paraguay. So this one kid, he was a citizen in Mexico. He lives in the United States. He has both passports. So you have to have a visa to get in Brazil now. So he decided he's going to use his Mexican passport to get into Brazil. So we get into Brazil. So when we get to the checkpoint or border to go to Paraguay, he's kind of all scared to death of the passport to use. So he says, I'll just take my American one.
Oh, no.
So he takes it. And they wouldn't let him use it because it didn't have his Brazil stamp on it. So he had to go back and get that. So we had to wait for him. We didn't let him live to see the end of that. But it was fun. It was super fun. Yeah. And the ground there was, if you stepped in the right places, water would just ooze up and fill that hole you stepped in. It was that wet. So there was this supermarket / cafe a couple blocks above the store, and a couple times we went up there and ate lunch. So one time we go up there and eat lunch, the first time actually, and I sit down with a couple other guys, and they somehow sat at the same table as this Paraguayan guy that spoke like maybe a couple dozen words of English. So he was pretty excited to use it too. So he was asking questions, and one thing he really, really wanted to know was what the cows look like in America. So one of the guys had a picture of some cows in there, and the only thing he kept saying was, they're so fat. And he ordered us lunch. It was pretty nice of him. And he sold how he learned English. He had read a couple books he had found, and he sold technology to the farmers in Paraguay. And all their software and stuff was in English. So that's how he learned English. And he says he's going to learn a couple more words of English too. Yeah. The food there was different. They had boiled egg and just about everything. Yeah. They usually had noodles. The cafeteria that we ate in, we always had rice, black beans, some type of noodle. And they had these little round breads deals that were filled with cheese, goat cheese, you get used to them eventually. But they were a little salty. It was better than the goat cheese being plain. That stuff was so salty, it tastes like you were just eating salt. But that academy that we stayed at, they grew just about everything they ate. And they wouldn't let you drink water when you were in the cafeteria. They made limeade or orange juice, and we usually had that for every meal. So the first night we get there for dinner, we all go in there and sit down and eat, and the food was really good. And then the next one we go in there for breakfast, and the food is totally different. Like a welcome meal or something. Pretty funny. And so we worshiped in the church there at the campus, and the school president came and said a few words at the last Sabbath we were there, and he was telling us that in 2023, I think, the Paraguayan Union wanted to shut down the school for some reason, and the people there said no, so they got the South American Division involved. The South American Division said, no, we want to keep this open, so they go there and build the biggest church in Paraguay there, and they build staff houses, and they pretty much rebuilt the whole campus there. It was pretty neat. And everything's all tile and stuff, so when it gets wet and stuff, you gotta watch your step because you'll fall. And what was I gonna say? Dang it, I forgot. But
Wyatt, is there any one thing that made the biggest impression on you on your trip?
so yeah, when God did multiply the Bibles, you always think like you never see one. You always think it only happens to people in different countries or whatever. But that really made an impression that he actually does the miracles and stuff, and that he's a very powerful God. Yeah, that was pretty nice. Cool, too. But he did a couple other ones, too, but I didn't get to hear about those ones. I just heard the rumor. Yeah.
Are you staying in touch with some of the kids you were there with?
Yeah, I got quite a few phone numbers. Yeah.
Wyatt, I think you can count the miracle he performed to get you and your friends back safely.
Yeah, that's one of them. That's another one. So I flew back on American Airlines, and they don't like people under or 14 and under to fly alone, or blah blah blah. So on the way back, there was an adult that flew down with us. He was pretty much the chaperone or whatever. But on the way back, he got sent to Atlanta. So there was 14 of us that flew back, and there was no adults, but except two 18-year-olds. One of the kids turned 18 in the airport just before we left. So he was pretty looking forward to being home, but we bought him some cake and sang to him in the airport. But so yeah, we got back with way less. We got back. Yeah.
Praise God.
Yep. Yeah. When we were in Brazil, when we get to this campus there, so in Paraguay, they just feed you a meal. There's no, sometimes they have a cake at the end. It was just a meal. So when we get to Brazil, we go into their cafeteria there, and they just have a little bit of food, and at the end, they don't have very many options. You get this or that. We get to the end of the table, or the line, there's like a whole table filled with sweets. And that's what they ate there, I guess, every single meal, because that's what we had, the sweets. Morning and dinner. Some of them are pretty good, too. Yeah. I have this thing called stroganoff there. It's this orange-colored sauce they put on top of their noodles. It's kind of like Chinese noodles, but they're smaller than spaghetti noodles, but bigger than Chinese noodles. But they put this orange sauce on there with some little clump of something in there. I didn't want to know what it was, but it was not bad. They ate that a lot there. It was pretty fun. And so in Paraguay, they love to take American money, but they would only take it if it was a clean bill, like no mark or nothing on it. So we go to Brazil, and they won't take American money there. That was kind of weird. But when we were in Paraguay, the last Sabbath, Fabricio, a little kid, he had a Paraguayan bill. Those were 2,000 Ferraris, or I think that's what it was. And he walked around for like 10 minutes wanting to know if he could trade it for an American dollar. And it took him a while before he found something with an American dollar. But he was pretty tickled about it too. He showed it to everybody, then he tucked it in his pocket and helped put his hand on that thing the whole time. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I'm running out of things to say now. Yeah. Thank you for all coming.